Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering Season 4 of Sword Art Online, titled War of the Underworld.
After the cliffhanger of Season 3, our Kirito is catatonic while Alice has been caring for him for months.
That's dark.
Yeah, and as Asuna tries to find a way back to the virtual world, the Underworld itself is entering its own end as war breaks out between all of its inhabitants for power. Yes, Kirito can wake up in time.
Yes.
And he will wake up in time.
Yes.
And he does wake up in time. Kirito!
Yes. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and all the pause videos.
Absolutely. And the movie for Sword Art Online.
Yes. There we have for the first time.
Yes.
So for here, there was a point we thought that War of the Underworld and what's the other one called? It was War of the Underworld and Alchemization were like all
together,
one season.
right?
Yeah, and then we saw that according to Toonami, they split it up. It's one story split in two, so they consider like two different seasons.
So therefore, we give you two different podcasts.
Right. So here now we are officially caught up. And the way they actually have the story play out, you would think this was actually the series finale, the way it had played with it. Because it gives you such a almost complete ending for it. Until you get to like the end and then say, oh, Kirito will return like one more time.
Right.
So I guess there will be a season 5 now. And then that will be, I guess, the
Which
end.
we know is happening.
Yeah.
It was announced. So yes, there'll be a season 5.
Right. And then that will be the actual end of the series.
Possibly.
And for here, it's really different because for this section, you really don't focus on Kirito.
The first half, right? The first 12 episodes, he's just there. You
Right
know
here.
he's there. And every now and then you'll see some mental activity they're showing you. But truthfully, the first half of this season is not Kirito.
It's
an arc at
mostly,
all.
well, it's actually mostly Alice.
And
she's
Kirito
taking,
focus.
yeah, it's mostly Alice taking care of him and trying to get him to safety.
And then Asuna later
Yeah.
on when she comes to find out what's happened to him and to get her man.
Right. Right, you got that. And then he moved then. Like, that's the biggest thing I know. That's the most time he showed any movement.
And they were upset, the girls.
What?
They were like,
Oh, yes,
never,
because...
obviously she's important. And obviously he knows her because he hasn't moved before.
You're right. And it's something to get to a little later is that Alice ends up forming a sort of connection with Kirito because she's been taking care of them for look like months within the virtual world. And they notice that Kirito hasn't woken up despite what happened after defeating the administrator. So that's why they were trying to get Asuna into the game to help get him out since he wasn't waking up on his own.
But they're not, the characters in the game are not aware that he's not part of the game. He's human.
Right.
And then once Asuna shows up, then she tells him, no, we're human.
Right.
We're from the outside world.
Right.
But this was a really high-paced season once you got past the first 9 episodes. And again, where Asuna arrives, and then you get back into the story and really of trying to save these people within this game from these crazy jerks that are perpetuating what's going on within it.
And they eventually tell you, who's behind, this sudden war in here. And there's this guy from the real world as well as into the virtual world, and he's tricking these people into fighting each other. So they end up getting to this kind of sort of cultural battle within the virtual world because the guy worked with, he was one of the last members of Laughing Coffin. Last 2 members of Laughing Coffin. So I guess to end out the organization, he had this full-on range attack where he was going to try to take out people in the virtual world when they played the game because he had a grudge against Japanese because of what happened during his backstory, which you see in the episode. And it becomes his whole mission is just to wipe out as many players as he can in the virtual world, control them, and have them all wipe out each other. And it was kind of like, wow, that's a pretty long way to go for one thing.
But if you think about each season of the series, it's had some very dark villain who was not likable at all.
Right, no redemption
or
anything.
Redemption, and we know that goodness is going to prevail. Then this other crazy B-word who is in here, he decides that his hobby, or how do I say this nicely?
Talent or passion?
No, he gets off on seeing people die and actually trying to absorb their souls. So for Alice, he's thinking, oh, this is going to be great. I'll just get her floodlight as she's dying off, and I'll absorb it, and it's going to be a great high. Yes, he's crazy as hell. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, he's Joker level cuckoo.
And that's why he is, he tells this guy, put me in.
Yeah.
Because that's what he wants Alice for.
Right.
The other guy wants to get her floodlight out into the human world so that he can take advantage of using her on a mass scale.
Right.
And then, of course, the people that Asuna and Kirito are with want to stop this and prevent this, and want Kirito to get her out of the game,
right,
the floodlight, so they can protect her in the real world.
Right. And as you said, when it gets towards the end, the other characters actually start coming in wanting to help, because they also have this thing where if they didn't get out in time, the game would do a sort of jump forward and they'd be stuck in the game for 200 years within the game. The game would be 200 years long, and there was no time when they would get out.
Well, they said, well, there'll be no hope for them once they got out. They wouldn't even know whom they were. Their memories would be affected.
Yeah.
And they would lose them. So.
Right. And then, when they had Kirito in a camp before, he was able to snap out of it and defeat the villain, of course. There's this part in there that's actually funny when Asuna is meeting all of the girls
after
that took care of it.
And they think she's this goddess.
Yes.
Who's part of the lore in the game.
Yeah.
And she took her appearance, and they gave her appearance, I should say, so she wouldn't be such a shock to them, and they would try to attack and kill her when she arrived.
Right. And for here, she meets the women that have been taking care of him.
Girls.
And it's several girls. Several girls and a few
of
guys.
various ages.
Yes, and a few guys. And most of them are actually the characters that he met during the Alakazation arc. Like the ones that were supposed to be assassins, they ended up not taking them out. And of course Alice herself and some other characters, they ended up working together, and they had this sort of base camp they were at when the war was going on. And they noticed that both Asuna, and then later Sinnoh shows up before the other male characters show up. And it said, oh, how do you know him? Oh, he's a friend of mine. He saved my life once. And which actually wasn't meant to be anything else, but yeah, because she had that trauma,
right, he
did help her and saved her life. So she was there as support. But then one of the girls says, Kirito sure has a lot of female friends. And it's like, yeah, every time it's another girl that's a friend.
And then when Asuna got there, Alice was very upset. And she was like, no. Her attitude was like, he's mine. You can't just come here and take him from me.
You're like,
and
what?
Like, you do know he's human. He's not part of this world. He's human like I am. And blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
and you
like,
could
what?
see the look on her face like, oh, no. And then it was funny because all the girls kept going forward. Well, I have a connection, Kirito.
And
I have a connection. And then this guy comes and says, well.
Yeah, well, it was like, don't tell us you have a connection with them too. Oh no, it's actually something else. That was hilarious. It was like, they were about to say, oh, if you have a connection, we got a problem.
Everybody's got a connection with Kirito. He's like the Ash of Sword Art Online.
Right. And when it gets towards the end and they try to close out the arc and bring Alice to the real world, that part really didn't go away. I mean, you didn't know how long it would take for Kirito and Asuna to get out of the game, but you really didn't know what was going to happen with Alice. She had to get used to the humans and what the AI were. But by the time it got to it, her attitude towards Kirito didn't change. It started being like, okay, you're a stalker.
But before that, we have to mention about the showdown without giving too much away.
Yeah.
This was an awesome showdown, and yes, Kirito does awake, and yes, he does awake when something's happening with Asuna. You know,
it's always that, yeah.
If you haven't seen it, you know this is the answer. And yes, in his classic badassery, he saves the day. That's all we'll say. And then, as you mentioned, getting Alice out became the most important thing.
Right.
And then there was this whole very short arc of getting out before the 200 years end in the game, or they're lost. We won't tell you how any of that happened or how that went. And then you find out just how much Asuna loves him, although we already knew that she really, really loves him and he really loves her. Well, she does a selfless act that you're shocked she's done it. and you don't know it until everything has finished, and then you see her, and you go, oh my gosh. And then he's shocked as well. And then you're like, aw. And then the tears start falling.
All right, for you, yeah.
Yes, and then they do successfully get Alice out. And how it ends, if you hadn't heard Kirito will return, you were like, what?
How?
Huh?
Yeah.
This is the end of it? You can't end it like this.
Yeah,
What the heck? This can't be it.
It was such a weird thing. I mean, you already got a new love triangle that, please don't. We got a love octagon going on. I don't need that too. But with the ending.
And I'm really surprised, knowing the definition of a harem anime, that this is not considered a harem anime.
Right. And with it, it's like there's one more virtual world they hadn't gone out yet. And the clue is that, you had your fantasy one. You had Gun Gale, which was more like the dystopian one. You had
For the Americans.
Right. You had your medieval one, and now it looks like we're getting a futuristic one. I mean, they kind of had some futuristic elements in Gun Gale, but this is gonna be like the entire theme of it. So it looks like that's gonna be the type of thing they're dealing with space travel and more like hyper-realistic type things for the virtual world, I guess, to update to what's been going on now with VRs being really advanced since the time the show came out.
And when they go into this one, they're going to have some really awesome, amazing powers and level-ups, and power-ups, that they didn't have before. So it's going to be really exciting to see this. And yes, I am absolutely excited and can't wait for season 5 to come. Who knows, maybe it'll be season 5 and 6 like they did with this one, where it'll be 2 different arcs within the same season.
Right.
But we're so excited and can't wait for this to happen. This is being, for us, an absolutely amazing and fantastic anime. We love it. Not sure why all the hate's out there for the characters and the anime itself, but we can tell you this: if you haven't seen it, you really need to get on Netflix and give it a watch. The entire series should be on there probably by summer. You've got everything but Underworld on there right now.
Yes.
So if you have not seen, again, season 4 or any of the series, give it a watch and let us know what you think in the comments below. If you have seen the entire series, especially season 4 Underworld, let us know what you think in the comments below. If you're excited for season 5, if you think the story should have been finished, how did you like how this season finished out? Did you like the finale? Did you think it was lacking something? Let us know your comments.
And be sure to like, subscribe, and notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Oscar Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing like